Retro mods, beat 'em up, remake heaven, and can Arcade1up even make a Star Wars Trilogy Pro? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Another episode of This Week, the show where we talk about what happened this week in the home arcade space. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a phenomenal weekend. I had a busy week / busy weekend, to say the least. More on that a little bit later. You know what? No, not more on that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and talk about it right now. I picked up maybe the arcade machine, like the one, like if you can only have one, it was this one. It was the Star Wars Trilogy. This guy named Justin, I don't know if you've heard about him. He's got a show. He's got a channel, Console Kits, and he's been he went through the first, like the run of did a video on it and plugged it in and checked it out and made sure it was somewhat live. And the controls were a little bit sketchy, but the cabinet is as advertised, and I'm incredibly excited to have it home. It's not perfect by any stretch of imagination. Justin never said that it would be. And the controls, well, the control, the one joystick, the thing that does all of the things, is a little bit sketchy. There's a controller there's a control board mounted on this joystick. It's not just a simple joystick that is there for a reason. It's not even plugged in. So that will be coming up in a later episode here on the show. Doing some videos, just kind of going through some of the pains of getting that thing back together. But I'm very excited. It's got a lot of stuff right. A couple things wrong, but a lot of stuff right. So I'm excited to get going with that and get going with this episode to talk to all of you. So tonight, what are we drinking? What are you drinking? What am I drinking? I'm drinking I'm still on the Maker's Mark, the French Oaked. Of all the Maker's Marks that I've had, this is the one that I like the most. It's pretty smooth. You can drink that. You can drink it neat if you want. I do it on the rocks because I got to talk to you for an hour and a half, and so I need a little bit of the lubrication. And it's got just a good flavor. I think there's a little bit of a caramel in there. I'm not sure. French oaked, not sure. I guess it's just the oak is French. We're not going to judge the oak for that. So anyway, I hope you had a great weekend. This is what I'm drinking. We got some stuff to talk about. I don't know if you can see kind of in the shadows. There we go. You see the beginnings of Shack Jam. It's kind of coming together. I'm not just going to slap that together quick. Not just going to do a straight up review on that cabinet either. We're going to do some mods right off the bat. It's going to be a fun video. We're going to take care of some things. It's kind of a what you should know before you put yours together, before you buy Shack Jam. The three number one mods you're going to want to do before you even finish assembling the cab. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about for next week. I got that video to do. I got a video about the trip that I took this weekend, the journey to get the cabinet. I did a video about the Die Hard cabinet, and I'm going to do one about the Star Wars Trilogy cabinet. So got a lot of footage to comb through. So that'll be coming out this week also. I'm excited to bring that to you. I'm home this week. I'm in town this week, so I'm going to get to make some progress on some stuff, including the arcade. We're going to frame up some walls. And, with any luck, we'll be running some electrical, figuring out, all the outlets, all the switches, all the places I'm going to have stuff, that's going to be kind of the fun. And we're going to take our time with this. We're not going to rush into it. I want to make sure that I have everything, accommodations for everything, everything's going to have a place. So I'm kind of a neat freak, kind of an orderly person. So I'm going to take some time with that, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I hope you enjoy what we're going to be getting into with that, because hopefully there'll be some tips and tricks for you if you're planning your home arcade, things you should do. If you ever just want to put a wall up somewhere randomly, you'll now know how to do that. We're gonna forego the Trump jokes for now. Maybe later. So we talked about what we're drinking. We talked about what we're doing the weekend. Let's talk about the poll question. Every week on the show, we have a poll question. This is episode 104, guys. Episode 104. The poll question is kind of a simpler one. Here's the question. Knowing what we know about Arcade1up, seeing what they brought to the market for $1,000, what they called a pro. Do you think, here's your question. It's yes or no question. Do you think that Arcade1up, do you think they can, I thought about wording this a couple different ways, but I stuck with this question worded this way. Do you think Arcade1up can make a product that's worth $1,000? I thought about saying, you think Arcade1up is willing to make one for that? No. Do you think they have the ability? Because they brought something to the market for $1,000. And what do you think? Was that close? Was it not even close? Do they know what they're talking about? Do they know? Can they even evaluate? Do they even know what a $1,000 cabinet should be? Don't really know. Don't really know. So you let me know what you think in that poll question. 65 votes. Go ahead and jump up there. We got we kind of lopsided right now. We'll check back on the poll at the end of the show. Thank you so much for jumping into that. Let me know what you think. Do you have any confidence in this company as far as $1,000 price tag, pro level product? Can they do it? Let me know what you think about that. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Good to see you. Drunk 3PO's in the house saying, send me a Dragon's Lair. If I had one, I would send it to you, but I charge you full price. Sorry, just the way that's the way that it is, buddy. It's definitely a good cab, though. Definitely a good cab. It's not going to go on sale. So as soon as you see it, if you do see it dip $50, jump on it, because beyond that, it's just going to be a full-size cab, full price cab. Full price cab indeed. So let's see what's going on. We know what Drunk 3PO is begging for, and we all want one of those, for the most part. Love to have one for free. But what is everybody else talking about in the chat? Let's go to the number one comment, the very first one. This comment was left at 9:58 p.m. by Angelo P. What's going on? Hey, Fox, Fox, and the fist emoji. How is that new NBA X Hook? Well, it's right there. It's not together yet, but it will be, and it will be awesome. Does the screen have color shifting like Golden Tee? Oh yeah, especially when you have it kind of loosely, put together on the floor. Yeah, when that angle isn't quite set. Oh yeah, you got some good stuff. But don't worry, we have a solution for that, and it's going to be coming next week. Next week, that video will be coming out soon. Mike Hawkhurts, see all of you tonight. I hope you are here seeing us tonight. Pitbull's in the house saying, "Don't you mean 1-up blow?" Huh? You see what he did there? Because he's moving on. Skids is in the house saying, Fox, my man, nice pickup on the Shaq NBA Jam. Thank you, sir. Taking my daughter to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I've heard good things about it. I haven't seen it yet. Kind of, been losing some of my love for Marvel lately. So, and that's kind of the one I really don't want them to screw that up. So I think they've kind of dropped the ball a couple other places. All the current movies are not quite hitting me where I want it to hit me, but I've heard good things about this one. So I hope you enjoy it. Always have a great show. Cheers, brother. Thank you so much. And yeah, absolutely catch it on a replay for sure. Beach Native 78's in the house. Sup, Foxy. Triple X. Well, that's going to be a different show. How is Raiden 2 on the Switch? It's Raiden 3. It's not Raiden 2. I wish it was Raiden 2. Raiden 2 on the Switch would be awesome, but that's the only Raiden that they have not come out with. One of the reasons why I made a dedicated Raiden 2 cabinet. You can get Raiden 1. You can download Raiden 1. Raiden 3 just came out, and then the 30th anniversary included Raiden 4 and 5 for the Switch. But Raiden 2, for some reason, it is an anomaly. It's a conundrum. It's a rooster illusion. For some reason, you just can't seem to find it. It's not really the only home port that I'm aware of is PC, and then, of course, the compilation disc on PlayStation where you got Raiden 1, Raiden 2, the Raiden Project. I think that's the only true home ports I get. No, yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I guess there was a PC version of that. There was also a Raiden DX PC version. So, yeah, I would love it if they would bring home 2. I wish they would, but they haven't yet. So, fingers crossed, it'll happen soon. Gotham City Arcade says, "Hey Fox, or hey Battle, you're in Austin right now, working. Keep on fighting, buddy. Catch you on the rerun. Have a great show tonight. Thank you so much, and be careful in Austin. Austin can be kind of a crazy place, insane, unexpected." Just like a $10 super chat from Ezekiel Chicago Retro Ranger. Thank you so much for your $9.99 super chat, brother. Really do appreciate it. What's up, brother? Sorry I've missed the last few live streams. No need to apologize. I'm just glad you're here now. A lot of family events, which is a great thing and an awesome reason to miss this show. Just catch the replay. Have you on? I hope you are well. Well, I'm hanging in there. I'm doing all right. Love that Star Wars trilogy. You know I'm going to build one. Cheers, brother. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your $10 super chat, buddy. And yeah, it's definitely it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, not a struggle, but it's going to be a road. We're going to have to travel that project, but we're going to make it happen, and it's going to be outstanding. Just like this super chat from you, buddy. Thank you so much again for your super chat. Where is your and you know what? Here you go.
Can't you do any better? This is the Overlord!
Chris Ford says, "What's up, Fox? Need the Smash TV cabinet first, then we can work on the Star Wars trilogy." But what? You can't set the priorities. No. Why can't we have both? Okay. All right. Okay. Listen, as long as you're in your made-up scenario, Star Wars trilogy does come. Okay. I'll allow it. You can have yours first. That's fine. Danny Davis in the house saying, okay, gang, what's the difference between the Star Wars trilogy and the cab with all the 3 games? Star Wars trilogy, the one that we're talking about, is it's a game produced by Sega, made by Sega, and it was running on the Sega Model 3 hardware. This is the one that had Sega Model 3. It had all the good stuff. It had Daytona 2 and so forth and so on. And it was made in 98, whereas the one that we're talking about, the one I think you're referring to, is the one that Arcade1up did, and that's the Atari games from the 80s. So this is 98. You could play all 3 episodes or key moments within all 3 episodes of the first 3 movies, the only 3 movies that really matter. And the graphics are top notch. The sound is really, really good. A little bit of a spoiler. We're going to get into this a little bit later in the episode, but the cabinet is so cool. It's got even the stand-up version that I have. There was a deluxe version they made, but the stand-up version that I have has a subwoofer in it. It's really cool. It's really cool. But the sound is great. The sound is official Star Wars. It's really, really awesome. In 98, I think it was 97 when they came out with the special editions. So all this kind of tied in together back in 97, 98. It was a great time to be excited about Star Wars because this new movie coming out, episode 1, The Phantom Menace, was just a few, like the next year. It was right there on the horizon. So it was a good time to be a Star Wars fan for sure. But that's the big difference. You're talking about the one with the 3 games that you're talking about from Arcade1up. That's the one that was the Atari games from the 80s. Star Wars Trilogy is the 90s games made by Sega. Dan Z is in the house. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Alfred Berger is saying, hey, how you doing? Alfred, good to see you as well. Stock Jock says, looking forward to another great show. Man, I hope it's great. Better be. Working hard. Stupid fat hobbit. Just stop, man. Come on. Dim-witted, mildly overweight hobbit. Let's work you. Let's get you on the right track. Let's get to be positive. Come on, man. Eden Fox, listening to your show tonight from the car. I caved in and finally bought a Pac-Man cab. Which one did you? I'm assuming the deluxe you're talking about. There's 59 Pac-Man cabs. You're going to have to be a little more specific. It's Arcade1up's fault. Nothing new coming, and I need my fix. Nothing new coming is a bit of an issue when we're talking about home arcades. Basically, we're talking about stuff that, games and cabinets that came out in the past. So Arcade1up is the only one kind of bringing something new consistently to the market. And when they're not doing something, there's a lot out there that's lacking. What the current offerings are not that great. So when a sale does happen, like Shack Jam, it's a big deal. When they don't release something, it's kind of a lull. But that's actually not bad because that allows us to kind of dig in and find other things to do, something a little more. Maybe you go back, maybe you mod that Arcade1up that you've been wanting to get around to. Hey, listen, don't buy anything. Just mod the one you got. Or maybe go out and take a chance and find that original arcade machine that you've maybe been a little hesitant to do and give that a shot. It's the one good thing that Arcade1up has done, and even the haters can agree to this. At least I hope the haters can agree to this, is that it's reinvigorated. It's brought new eyes on the arcade, hobby, and I think it's a good thing overall. Molar Medic is in the house, and hello everyone. Salute, as you were. I look forward to tonight's topics. I hope you do. I hope that they're good. I hope that they're to your liking. Molar Medic, Wall 101. What up, Sarge? How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Saiyan Spirits says, gonna tease me tonight with Star Wars Trilogy and give me blue Death Star balls, eh? Moving on. Jason says, hi, Fox. I picked up a sit-down Hydro Thunder for $800. Very nice. 100% working. And it's so much fun. Jason, I also picked up another full-size cab this week. It's a sit-down racer. But I'm not going to tell you about that one. That one's a surprise. Hopefully, no, as long as that thing shows up this week, we'll do a video on that too. Bit of a surprise, just a teaser. I'm not going to tell you what it is. But yes, it's an original arcade. Sit-down racer. So just sit there on pins and needles waiting. I'm really excited about this one too. Really excited about it. Kevin Clausen says, sup, Fox? Yo. How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for stopping by. Indeed, yes, absolutely. That is a hashtag that I will support. 100% free AVP. And I'm still hashtag free MK4. I'm not going to buy another Mortal Kombat cabinet from Arcade1up until MK4 is introduced. It's got to be on the cab. It's got to be there. I want something more. Quit spitting out the same stuff. JJ's in the house saying, hey there, Fox. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday indeed to you too. Thank you so much, Nova. Sonic 23. Hello. Fox emoji is in the house. The real Zim. Says, sup, Fox and Chet. How you doing? Random one. What up, Fox? How are you doing? I'm doing really well, man. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel. JR says, hey, everyone. How you doing? Good to see you. Pegsham, right? Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, we'll go with that. Glad to be here live. Been a while. I'm glad you're here. And yes, it has been a while. Thank you so much for stopping by. Dominic P. What's going on, buddy? Of course, Arcade1up can make a product worth $1,000. Don't need flashy lights, etc. Just lots of games in it. Okay. So you're telling me they can do it. You think that they can. Scrolling down, Saved by Zero. It's all right. It's Saved by Zero. Sup, lads? How you doing? Good to see you. Formula Fox is in the house with a wink emoji. Miss G, Tammy, that is, saying, good evening, Foxy. Good to see you, girl. Hope you're doing hope you're having a great weekend so far. Mickey Yoon is in the house. I would never, ever buy, ever. I would never, ever. Sorry, I left out an ever. I would never, ever buy a $1,000 Arcade1up product. LOL. What if it had $1,000 in it? Think about that. Until they prove they are capable. Yep, I think that's the question. Do you think they can? Is it possible? Is it possible? Miss Harris is in the house saying, I want to know, someone let me. Is it easy for me to mod a arcade? I am going to start a she cave, okay, in 3 months when I move into a house. It's like anything else, it's possible. It depends on what the mod is you want to do. We're going to talk a little bit about retro mods, kind of like Resto Mod. There's some things you can do to your cabinet, but if it's a JAMA standard cabinet, all you really got to do if you want to play a different game is just buy a different arcade board and plug it in. Now, as long as the buttons are all compatible, you should be in good shape. Let me scroll down just a little bit. Fenwick sees in the house. Greetings, Fox. Good to see you. Good to see you indeed. How are you? Cyber Siles is in the house. 2077 says yes, but will they? So there's another question. So you've answered my question with the question. It's a vicious circle. It's a vicious cycle. King Creole's in the house. What up, man? Hey, listen, just chilling. How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much for swinging by, stopping by. Sony 4K is in the house saying, getting ready to do the 20-inch mod on my Dragon's Lair. Already have the waterfall deck. Yes, that's going to be beautiful. Frank D says, I voted no. I think they have to make too many compromises. At the low price points, they're good for what they are. But when you get beyond 500, and see, that's always kind of been my threshold too. Once you get beyond 500, you got to do something a little bit special. Have they ever done something a little bit special to justify that? I don't really know. Josh McKinley's in the house. A1up could make a pro, but they're too scared to invest. See, this is kind of another point to make, right? Too scared to invest to do a little right because they won't sell if it's not a huge mainstream title, right? Because who are they selling to? They're not selling to us, are they? They're selling to the distributors, the retailers, the Best Buys, the Walmarts. That's who they're selling to. Distant Earth, come back to us. Don't be so distant. Come back. Arcade1up 1K bundle, eight Gen 1 cabinets. Hey, there's something you can get behind, right? There you go. Regular says if they would build it like the iArcade, then it would be worth $1,000. See, that's can they? I don't know that they can. We'll talk about them more at the end because it's a question you got to really think about, because your knee jerk is to say, yeah, of course they can. Of course it's possible. Is it? Because remember, they tried to bring us a $1,000 cabinet. Didn't work out so well, at least in my personal opinion. Thor KC is in the house saying Arcade1up can't make products worth more than $500. Star Wars, however, can make a $500 product worth $1,200, however. Okay, that's true. That's true. You put that name on it, and all of a sudden, it's a little more interesting, isn't it? Night Shadows in the house saying, what's up, 19K Fox Masters? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. G.I. Joel is in the house saying, hammer, wrench, and game. I like it. Wrench and gaming. Lisa's Retro Lounge is in the house saying, hey, Fox, hope you're doing well. I am, Lisa. I hope you're doing well as well. Continuing on, Mike says, I wish they would do a Jurassic Park cab. Yeah, I think the list of games that I want them to do and others want them to do is just, it's pretty long. There's a lot of games out there they still haven't touched yet. Andy's Game Room says, good evening. How are you? Good to see you, man. Red Soul Red says, would like to see something new from Arcade1up soon. I'm actually looking forward to the Casino-cade, and I hope we might still get Time Crisis or Star Wars Trilogy announced this year. Time Crisis is like something they've just been dangling out there. Part of that problem is the leak. Part of that problem is the image that we saw. There's definitely enough. It's not like it's just somebody said something one time. We've got a lot of information out there about it. So it's one of the more solid leaks. They just haven't moved on it. And it's kind of weird. But what can you do? Gamer Fridge says, hey, Fox, caught you live. Love your stuff, man. Thank you so much. And you stay frosty. Because Fridge is in his name. Did you get it? It was a joke. We're going to keep on moving. It's okay, man. Bones McCoy. Good to see you again, man. How you doing? When you say build it like iArcade, do you mean with no good games? Shots fired from Bones. Damn it, Jim. I'm a doctor, not an iArcadian. Jack Sparrow says only for a full-size cockpit spy hunter cabinet. Not bad. Not a bad suggestion at all. Thank you so much for the chats. Everybody being here. Okay, so we talked about the poll. We talked about the bourbon in my glass. What's in your glass? Tell me about that in the chat. Tell me about that in the replay, the comments section below. And let's go ahead and do a thing. Let's go ahead and get into the first topic. A little company called Galloping Ghost. Yep. So we had a little bit of news about the Galloping Ghost arcade, biggest arcade, one of the most complete arcades. I had the pleasure of going there last September, met the fellows, met many of you there also, and got to experience Galloping Ghost for the first time. And it's a sight to behold. It is really a sight to behold. It is row after row after row of arcade games. And there are a few that maybe aren't quite 100% functional, but it's just amazing to go to a place like that. And you really, in the back of the mind, you hope it does well, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking, man, arcades everywhere are dying. How is he going to be able to maintain this? Is Doc Mack going to be able to maintain this? Is it eventually just going to run out of funds and just fold? And is this the last we're going to see of one of the greatest arcades of all time? And are these games just going to be gobbled up by, nearby retailers or maybe people like us who might be able to get one? And then we'll all tell stories about how back in the day, I got to go to this cool place called Galloping Ghost, but it's not around anymore. No, it's not the case, at least for now. Looks like we've got a big expansion. Doc is spending some money, he's making some moves, and Galloping Ghost is actually expanding. It's acquiring 19 parcels along the Ogden Avenue. What is a parcel? I have no idea. I thought it was a parsec. I was thinking about Star Wars. I have no idea. But it looks like they're making some moves. And this niche thing, this really odd kind of aberration. It's something different for sure. An arcade of that size, you worry about it sometimes, and it turns out, things are looking up for the Galloping Ghost, which is a really good thing. So let's get into I want to get into this article a little bit. Of course, it's kind of telling you the 19 parcels that they've acquired. A lot of these were actually leased properties that they've actually purchased, and there's some expansion, and we're talking about some crazy stuff. So let's go ahead and get into the article real quick because it's interesting to talk about. So I cut out some of the articles. I want to just highlight some of the main important parts. But basically, it would take more than 2 years. But by April 17th, Doc Mack's firm, Galloping Ghost Holdings LLC, completed what was easily the largest one-time real estate purchase on the Ogden Avenue in living memory. In the $3 million deal, Galloping Ghost Holdings acquired 19 parcels spread over 13 addresses on Ogden. I don't know why I struggle with Ogden. On Ogden Avenue from a real estate trust that formed part of Campbell's estate. Now, that was the gentleman that owned it originally, and I think Doc Mack was leasing the properties from him. The purchase includes nearly all of the buildings housing the Galloping Ghost businesses and three parking lots, 2 of them in Ogden Avenue and 1 in the 4100 block of Blanchette Avenue. It was a big step, said Mack, who opened Galloping Ghost Arcade in 2010 with 120 games. It has since expanded to include more than 930 games. Another expansion into the former Canton restaurant space at 9409 Ogden Avenue, east of the arcade, will get Galloping Ghost even closer to Mack's goal of 1,000 games. Pretty awesome. And once again, if you go back to the picture, You see Galloping Ghost kind of right there in the middle. The blue is Galloping Ghost, the parking lot off to the side. Then you had to, if you wanted to go check out Galloping Ghost Pinball, you had to walk down the street. You had to go a couple blocks down. There's Ogden Avenue. And then you see the all the way to the right, you see the little block of you got the yellow and the tan and the orange. That is Galloping Ghost Productions. Galloping Ghost Pinball is the skinny part right there. There's a parking lot, and then Galloping Ghost Martial Arts. I did not go there because I am not a martial artist, but I think that Doc Mac is. And then if you go farther, all the way to the left, you're going to see there's Galloping Ghost Garage, and then more parking lots and all that. So kind of spread out, and these were businesses that he was leasing, but now he owns them. So it's good. Always a good thing. Let's continue on with the article. Let's talk about some other kind of cool stuff he's thinking of, stuff that's coming down the pipe. So Mac would eventually like to move the Galloping Ghost Pinball Arcade. Remember, if you go to the map, that's the one all the way to the right. Wants to move the Galloping Ghost Pinball Arcade, which is housed, down the street. To do that, Mac said he was constructing 2 additional stories above the arcade. So go to the arcade and build 2 stories up beyond that. That's kind of crazy, right? Which would accommodate the pinball games, a video game and networked computer LAN center dedicated to console and PC gaming, and a video game museum. I don't want to be responsible for moving those pinballs upstairs. I just don't want to do it. But listen, if you're sort of landlocked, what do? You got to build up. The zoning code allows for buildings in the C1 district where the arcade sits to be 3 stories or 45 feet by right. So the last thing it says, if we can afford it, it's up to code, Max said of the idea. So, wow, moving up. You acquire the building, which is one thing. All the buildings, that's kind of a big deal. And now you want to put it all under one in one complex, and you go up with it. I think it's a great idea. I think it's not the end of the world to have to take a walk. If you want to get out of the building and go play some pinball, you got to take a little bit of a walk. It's not that bad, unless, it is located in Chicago. So rain, snow, famine, pestilence, all that stuff. It happens in Chicago. High winds. So, if the weather's bad outside, you might just say, nah, we're just going to, if I got to go outside, I'm just going to go run to the car and get out of here. So it'd be really awesome to have this tower of power, right? You're talking about the Sega Master System, where you had the Sega, and then you had the Sega CD, and then you had the 32X all stacked up. Well, think about the arcade being sort of the same thing. Arcade in the first floor, pinballs, and then the museum. Or maybe you have the museum on the first floor. You got to walk through that. And then, I don't know, but that would be really, really interesting. I'm excited about the opportunity of the Doc has now to really build this thing out and make it, it's already it's a place to go. If you're into retro gaming, if you like arcades, if you're in Chicago, you definitely want to swing by and check it out. It's just a play. It's just something you put on your list. But to make it this 3-story behemoth where everything's kind of under one roof, and you also had this museum, it would really, really could be something special, snack bar, food, food, games. that would be pretty awesome. That would be interesting. So I'm going to be watching this closely. Every time I go to Chicago for work, I always stop by there. And, I got a chance to the second trip I did was kind of a stealth trip. I got to play, Primal Rage 2. The only place you can play it is in Galloping Ghosts. Another awesome claim to fame there. And it's just, no matter where you go, it's pretty consistent. It's always the same. And everything's, for the most part, everything's up and running. And it's a great experience. So I'm excited to see that. So that's really good. The cost of keeping these things going, though, has got to be insane. And, CRTs are not exactly, easy to fix and cheap. They are dying. There's only so many of them out there. And as far as I know, they're not making them brand new anymore. So another way we can kind of keep these machines running is maybe going with an LCD version, a conversion. And you've seen the widescreens. They're not really that, they're fine. But when you completely change the aspect ratio of the game you're playing by putting a 16:9 monitor in there, it's just not the greatest. It's really not. So there is a player that I've been talking about this company for a while. Unico is coming out with, they've been talking about these. They currently have a 17 and 19-inch monitor, 4x3 LCD. You can put in an arcade. You can even use it to upgrade your Arcade1ups. But the 26-inch is the one that we've all been waiting for. Well, we're getting one step closer. This is an interesting picture. I don't know if I would have maybe taken this picture, but they wanted to prove that at least they have 50 boxes. We don't know what's in the boxes. We do know that the van looks kind of shady. I don't know. It's kind of funny. You want to buy these, go to the back of go in the corner, go in the alley, and then there's going to be a guy. Okay, he's in a trench coat. Okay, knock twice, flash the gang sign, and then he'll take you around back. He'll open up the trunk of the van, and be like, okay, what do you want? That's how this is going to go down. No, I think it's going to actually be a legit pre-order. I've been told. Actually, Unico's been responding to me on Facebook a couple times because I'm one of the dorks that's really excited about this. And I keep bugging them every time they post something. I'm like, great, when is it going to show up? When is it going to get here? So I went ahead and highlighted their comment on this weird picture. It says the first 50 Unico 26-inch monitors are going to be up for pre-order. They're shipped. Okay, they've shipped to the U.S. warehouse today. Should arrive in 30 days. So they just left wherever they're assembled. I'm assuming China. They're on their way. They're on the boat, and they'll be the pre-orders will be for the first 50 will commence on or around June 23rd. So this month, we're going to be able to pre-order our 26-inch LCD monitor, and this is going to be the one that's going to replace so many bad monitors out there. The question is always going to become, if you're trying to restore, I was talking to Justin Console Kits about this weekend. When you work on cars, there's something called a retro mod or a resto mod, and basically it's a restoration of the car, but it's upgraded. Basically the car frame, the car body, for the most part stays the same, but you got a newer motor, fuel injected. You have modified suspension. Maybe something out of a newer vehicle, so it's much more comfortable. The interior is modified. But overall, the skin and the bones of the car remains that 60s Mustang or that 60s Camaro or whatever, but it's modified, a resto mod, restored and modded. And there's been retro modding, but if we're talking about a retro mod, taking an arcade and extending its life by kind of bringing it up to a new standard, maintaining as much as you can. And I think the biggest source of contention is going to be the CRT. It's, as of right now, there's no real good replacement for a CRT. I think this thing is going to get close. This 26-inch, it's an LCD in the proper aspect ratio, but it's not going to be a curved tube TV. It's not going to be a curved display. It's not going to be our CRT. Scan lines, I don't think, are quite there yet. There is some stuff out there going on. Justin actually let me know. He's been interacting with some people, one person in particular, and they're using 4K resolution and HDR, high dynamic ratio, to actually simulate a scan line a little bit better. So that technology would not be this LCD, would be something new coming out. But as of right now, this is the best that we can hope for, or we can expect anyway. We're not going to know for sure until we get our pre-orders, build quality and all that. Are all these monitors going to be, up to snuff? Are they going to be as good as some of the demo units we've seen? But you have a pure restoration of an arcade is going to be one category. I think this is where we're at. The boards can last for a while as long as there's no hard drive on the board. Everything's all solid state, no moving parts. These boards can last for a long time. Maybe you have to reflow the solder, but for the most part, the boards can last for a very long time. The controls, you can swap those out. A lot of companies are, they're still in operation, still making controls because those things wear out, buttons and joysticks and all that. So you can definitely do that. Sorry, high dynamic range. No, don't say sorry. Don't say sorry. You're correcting me, and I want to be correct and accurate. High dynamic range. HDR, using that to make a better scan line, or a simulated scan line. So you're going to have the pure restoration, the purely restored cabinet brought up to its standard, the CRT, and it's built exactly the way that it was back in the day, and it's a restoration, just how it was. And then I think we're going to have this other. It's a different category. I think right now what you have LCDs in arcades, but they're 16:9s. And I don't think that this really falls under this category that I'm sort of proposing, this retro mod. I think that if you give me an LCD with a proper aspect ratio, I think that we can consider that a suitable solution. Maybe not the best. Some people probably freaking out and screaming, pulling your hair. But I think it's going to be a suitable solution. Also, I think that if you're going to go this far, why don't you take the body of the cab and cut it down? Why don't you take some of the thickness out of that arcade? The question is going to become, is it going to make it too top heavy? I don't think so, because you're taking all the weight out of the top of the cabinet. And if it's, you've got this thick, wide, the body of the cab, the depth of the cab was really just to support the CRT and the depth of the CRT. So if you get rid of that and you have an LCD monitor, the game boards themselves are pretty thin. So why not skinny up those cabinets? I could see that. I mean, you're talking about resto mods with cars. They have wide body kits where they flare out those fenders. We're doing the opposite of that. Maybe we skinny up those, still 3/4 inch MDF, but we skinny up those arcade cabinets and do it in a way that's not going to take away some of the key points of the artwork. So you got the artwork on the side. You can't just cut the thing in half. But if you could suck up about 4 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches, take some of that thickness out of the cab and still keep the key parts of the artwork, I think that would be acceptable. And I think that would be ever so slightly. You get something that's going to be lighter. You got an LCD that's going to last a whole hell of a lot longer. It's a lot easier to maintain. And talk about moving something now. I mean, it's who, now I don't care who you are, I don't care how strong you are. Pitbull, I know you're in here. You can probably pick one up and just throw it and just take it wherever you want to go. But for most of us, it's a struggle. If we can eliminate a ton of that weight, and now we have something that's, what's the claim to fame Arcade1up has, right? Oh, they're smaller, they're easier, you can move them around. What if we can accomplish that, with an older arcade? Take some of the weight out of the body, thin it up a little bit. LCD versus, the CRT. Still rocking, original arcade hardware. Let's keep these boards alive. Why not that? Why not a retro mod? Why not? I think that is something that we could see. I think it could be a subcategory of the full-size arcade cabinets, the arcade market, whatever you want to call it, and kind of a stopgap, kind of a bridge between an Arcade1up, which we've seen these things. We know what they are. They are what they are. I don't think the quality is going to get much better than what it is. We've seen that $1,000 offering. Think of it at what you will. We're looking at 2XLs right now. I mean, maybe the quality could take a big jump up, but I just don't see it. So, I think this could be, something and in between. If you can't do the full blown restoration where you preserve every aspect of that cabinet, but you want the full size experience, you want the big cabinet, you want some of the weight of it, you want it to be solid, you want to bang on just top notch professional controls. Well, then there you go. This could be something that kind of falls in between. How accepting are the diehards going to be of it? Hey, listen, I'm not exactly sure how accepting they were going to be of it, but what's the alternative? I mean, are you going to let a game die? Or are you going to let it live on within one of these cabinets? Especially if it's something that's maybe not as popular as a Star Wars trilogy, some kind of holy grail game. Some of these games, I know you want to keep them, you want to restore them, and only allow them to live in a fully restored cabinet. But I think that, as time goes on, there's going to be a lot of room, and I think there's going to be a little more acceptance for a retro mod. Okay, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about a cabinet that I got, a game that everybody's been asking for, a lot of people have been asking for, when the conversation turns to, if you could only have one more game, if Arcade1up, if iArcade, if whoever, if somebody could make a reproduction cabinet, what would you want them to make? And there's a lot of different answers that come up there, but one of those is actually, Star Wars Trilogy. A lot of people are into this game. It's one of those games that are just super fun. And the fact that, Star Wars is, for the most part, a super popular brand, even though the new movies, like them or hate them, they're not my cup of tea, but I still love the original movies, and that's what this game celebrates. Star Wars Trilogy is the first 3 movies, and I don't think that you can ever go wrong if you highlight those first 3 movies. So, Star Wars Trilogy Pro. I don't think they're coming out with one now, this year. The question is more of, can they make it and it not be a pro? Can they make a version that they don't consider pro? And if they made that version, would we even accept it? There's been a big problem for me with Arcade1up when I saw what they did with Fast and Furious. I know you're thinking, Fast and Furious, who cares about Fast and Furious? It's fine. It is what it is. The cabinet is what it is. The cabinet is not the worst thing in the world. But what they did with that game was a step above. And now if you roll the clock back, they were definitely heading in this direction. The first steps in this direction were, NFL Blitz, but in my opinion, I don't give them a pass for NFL Blitz, but I acknowledge that they were upfront, they were open, they were honest about Blitz and the fact that it was different. We had to kind of dig to get that, but at least they told us what was up before the damn thing came out. And they gave it a new name. They called it Legends. So it was a little bit different. But when I saw what they did with Fast and Furious, trying to pass that off as an arcade, as a representation of that arcade game, was just wrong. Now, if you like the cabinet because it's a fun cabinet, rock on. I have no problem with that. Enjoy it. There were some parts of it that I enjoyed too. But if you're going to spend the money on this arcade reproduction or recreation or whatever, you expect to have the arcade ROM in it. And so seeing them do that, I'm like, that's a bad look. Leaves a bad taste in my mouth. That's why I sold it, pretty much immediately. But it's both of them. I got rid of both of them. But if you're talking about, something like this, Star Wars, big name, it's a game that's hard to emulate. There's not a really good Sega Model 3 emulator out there, really, that can run this well. There's some PCs that can run it well, but these PCs are a little bit higher. The demand on those, what they can do is a little bit more than the system on a chip that we're rocking with the Arcade1ups. And it's, these games are pretty substantial. They take a lot of power. There's a lot required there. And so when you require a lot, you have to give a lot. Just like this guy, DLW plays games, $4.99. Thank you so much for the $4.99, the $5 super chat, buddy. Really do appreciate it. The problem is the depth, not the width or the height of real cabinets. Especially midway cabinets are almost 40 inches deep. I think about Big Blue. I'm a Capcom fan. Alien versus Predator. You think about the cabinets I want to go find. But once you start looking at it and looking at the size of Big Blue, they don't call it Big Blue for no reason. That son of a gun is big. And yeah, you're talking about the depth. They really stretch these things out. I mean, these things are massively deep. And if you got like a long, skinny hallway or a long, skinny room that you're trying to build as an arcade, man, that depth is prime real estate that you can't get back. So that's what I'm talking about with this retro mod. If you could maintain almost all of that arcade, switch it to an LCD, and then if you could chop some of that depth of it out, I agree with you. The height and the width is not that bad. They're designed to fit through doors, like 30-inch doors, 32-inch doors, so you can wheel these things in. So you can get around the width, and the height isn't all that bad either, depending on the cabinet. But the depth is really a killer. It really is a killer. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, buddy. Really appreciate it. Got to give you something. I'm bringing that back. Got to give you something a little bit special. And sorry. You know what? I hate to do this. No, I don't hate to do it. I love to do it. You're going to the pit.
Finish him. Melina wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
So sad. So sad. Died too young. Mike of all trades in the house. Moat. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Good evening. 19K. I just wanted to hit the like button and show some support from my dude. I appreciate it. Every like hits me right here. Good to see you, man. Thank you so much for stopping by and swinging by and checking out the channel and catching me live. It's so nice to have you. Everybody's excited. Moat's in the house. We love Moat. Moat's awesome. Moat's good people. So we're talking about. I don't have the faith that I had before Fast and Furious. When they came out with Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I knew it was going to be pretty close. Or when they announced it. When they announced Blitz, I knew it was going to be pretty close. Every time that they announced a game, they were pretty close, right? Not everything's 1-to-1, but Terminator 2. I got it right. I'm pointing to it. You can't see it. It's right there. And I know it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. It's not bad. All the games, for the most part, I thought they were really pretty close. Little things here and there. I mean, if they had to change a song in TMNT, that wasn't their fault. But when they did Fast and Furious, when they did us dirty, when we were that misled, I got a lot of trepidation about them announcing the game that I want. Now, if it's AVP, they've been running CPS2 games for a while. It's not that big of a deal. I'm pretty sure they'll pull that one off. But if they were to announce Star Wars Trilogy, I got some concerns. So could they do it on 3/4 scale? Well, let's take a look at the real cabinet. Here's some pictures of what I got, what I brought home. This is the cabinet I bought from Justin. And just to give you an idea, if you're not familiar with the cabinet, there's a lot of stuff going on. Sega Model 3 is no joke. But this cabinet in particular is no joke. So when you look at the front of the cabinet, I've got it partially taken apart because I'm cleaning it up. I'm working on it. I'm sorting through some of the wiring issues. You got the coin door in the middle, but those two things I have circled in red, one on the left and the right hand side of the coin door, those are the boards that come out and actually hold they hold the game board and all these other components. So there's a lot going on there. We'll talk about what's on those boards in just a second. Flip it around to the back, and the thing I got circled in red, that little black thing on the very bottom, that's a subwoofer. There's a lot going on. This is not just your standard, game board, CRT, and a couple speakers. There's a lot of stuff going on. We got a subwoofer, and this is just the upright version. This is not even the deluxe version of Star Wars Trilogy. I mean, damn. So there's a lot going on in this small cabinet. So when I talk about these boards that are on here, these boards on the left and the right-hand side of the coin door, what am I talking about? What's so special about that? It's not like it's completely insane, out of the ordinary, but there's some stuff going on. So when you look at the board, this is on the left-hand side of the coin door. This is the board that actually houses the game board itself. This is a game board shrouded in a big metal shroud, and it's got just a ton of connections on there. This is something I pulled from the digital user's manual, owner's manual, and it just kind of breaks down some of the stuff that's going on. So this is a pretty big. If you watch my channel, this is not a game you can compare to Star Wars Trilogy, but what was it? The snowboarding game that I got. What is that? Surf Planet. Surf Planet is kind of the same thing. It's a big arcade board. It's made by Atari. They're stacked. They're double stacked, and they're shrouded with this giant metal shroud. So it's a big thing, right? But it's mostly the game board, and audio and stuff is on this. So that's the board on the left. That's the big, slider out, the pull out on the left-hand side. But on the right-hand side, these are the components you're going to find there. So this is the other board, and this has all of these additional components. Now, remember, this is 1998. This is not 1988. So I know we've come a long way. I know that was 25 years ago, but you're just talking about a pretty substantial setup just to run this game back in the day. So on this board, you've got a lot of different components. And if you look at this, if you look at the list over here, it tells you exactly what you're looking at. So you got your wooden base. That's just the board that everything's mounted to. The shield assembly, which is the shielding above it. Now we start looking at all the power amps. So you have a 2-channel power amp just for the 2 little speakers in the back. I'll show you right there. The little speakers left and right of the monitor. You've got an amp just to drive those. Okay, no big deal. There was another amp that powers a subwoofer, the low pass amp, with large heatsink, and it's large. The heatsink is pretty big. So you've got a separate additional amp just to power the subwoofer. Then you got some more fuses. You got some more. There's an additional transformer that I think is an isolation transformer for the actual monitor. So that wouldn't be an issue with Arcade1up. But you've got a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of additional boards and things. So there's a lot going on. But some of these things can be overcome with maybe a good port, maybe some wizardry, maybe they upgrade the chipset. Okay, all right. But there's something else you have to consider. There's There's two input devices on this cabinet. You got the big buttons on the side. Those are just buttons, right? But I consider that one, right? A button. You got a single button, and then you also have a joystick that's doing a lot. Now I think that they could probably use the one they used on maybe the one that they used on Blitz. They could do that, and they could combine that with their Tron joystick, but it's got to be something that is super, super robust. I mean, they got to go back to the drawing board. They got to make this joystick incredibly rugged. I mean, super rugged. So this is just an example of the actual joystick itself. It's massive. The whole thing comes out as one big unit. You've got these pots on either side. Then you have this board that I think it does something with the range of the potentiometer. So you got this whole thing going. It's a big, elaborate thing, right? It's huge. It's mad. There's a lot going on that single, joystick. So would you want them to make a $500 version of this? And think about that. I know you're like, $500, take my money. No, hold on. Oh, whoa. Hold on now. We saw what $500 gets us. You know, if we're talking about a legacy cabinet, deluxe, hey, $500 ain't bad. If you're talking about a Star Wars trilogy, Sega Model 3, with a super upgraded joystick, you got to have the sound. You got to have good sound. I mean, it's got to be like XL cabinet plus a little sub. You got to have that there to immerse yourself in that experience, to have that music play and feel it. It's got to be right. All signs kind of point to what they did with the Pro. And I'm not saying the Pro is going to be good enough either. I'm just saying, I don't know that they would be able to make something that's less than a Pro and have it even be acceptable for what we're wanting. And you can't even say XL because I still haven't seen them put, a good monitor in an XL cabinet. We just haven't seen it yet. All we've seen is TN monitors. You'll see that later on when I do my Shack Jam installation. And even if they made this thing a Pro, is that going to be good enough? What was one of the complaints that we saw with the Killer Instinct Pro? The controls. When it comes to this, you cannot mess around with this. You cannot play around with this. This is serious business. This is serious business. Because if you know anything about the game, Star Wars Trilogy, you go through the 3 episodes. You're doing different things. You're using the joystick for everything. So it's not just gently flying around and then smashing the button, to fire lasers. It's not just that. You're also going through the woods, and shooting bad guys, but you're also fighting Darth Vader, freaking Darth Vader. So everything's fine with the joystick until you got to fight Darth Vader and your joystick becomes your lightsaber. All of a sudden you get real freaking aggressive. I know I do. I get really aggressive when I'm slamming back and forth because I don't want to die. That's the thing. I don't want to die. So Darth Vader's swinging a red lightsaber at me and I'm trying to block it. So this thing has got to be super robust. I don't know that we haven't seen them do that yet. We haven't seen them really swing for the fences and nail it when it comes to the controls. I mean, we really haven't. Look at everything. There were complaints with. I didn't have a big problem with Golden Tee, but remember if you remember, they did that second update on Golden Tee and it completely screwed up the ball. The trackball was shot until they did another update and they fixed it. Look at the Tron joystick on their Tron machine with pictures of people snapping the damn thing. And that's just Tron. I mean, there's no Darth Vader in Tron. Damn it. So it's a big deal. I think it's got to be, if this is the one input device, it's got to be super sturdy and strong. And the one complaint that I heard about Killer Instinct, other than the Chrome T molding, was the fact that the buttons and the joystick just wasn't up to par. And I'm sorry, that should have been the easiest thing in the world for them to do. Because right now you can go and you can get a full set of IL competition sticks and buttons and everything and all the best stuff for like less than $100. And I hate to see, you hate to think about that when you see that we got a Killer Instinct chair and an anti-fatigue mat and a tin sign. I'm thinking, damn, if you just didn't include that and just included the best sticks and buttons money could buy, would that have been a perfect cabinet? No. Would it have been a Pro? I think for Arcade1up to call that Pro would not have been bad. Remember, they also have like the ported boxes for the speakers too. And they had some more software going with the sound. Now, is that going to be, that's not going to equal a subwoofer that you would have to really pull off a Star Wars trilogy, but it's a step in the right direction. So what I think that if Arcade1up wanted to make a Star Wars trilogy and make it something that we would enjoy and that we would accept, I think they have to start at Pro. I think that's where they have to start. The Pro has to be their standard. And I'm not talking about anti-fatigue mats and tin signs and chairs. I'm talking about that level. You have to start there. And then you have to take it up a notch. You've got to add the subwoofer. The speakers have got to be incredible. The controls have got to be rock solid. Got to be. Also, you got to nail the emulation. It's got the flow. It's got the feel just like the game. So Star Wars Trilogy Pro, I think that if they announced Star Wars Trilogy in anything but a Pro configuration, I'm not even going to give it a second thought. Now, what do you think? Well, you got to give it a thought too. You got to really mull this over, because even if they offer the Pro, I still don't think that means it's going to be a pro offering. Okay, moving on to the next topic. We've got to pause. We have to take a moment and show our appreciation to Miss Tammy G for swinging by and nailing a $10 super chat. Thank you so much for the $10. I really do appreciate it, Miss G. It really helps out the show and the cause of the arcade. A little something towards your next bottle of bourbon, and that is always appreciated. Thank you so much for your $10 super chat. And I got to give you something a little bit special. Let's go ahead and from one bad woman to the next. Here you go. Staying with the arcade retro, well, not even, this sort of transcends arcades, but I think it has a place in arcades. The retro offerings, the retro beat 'em ups, the things that we're seeing on the retro side, especially with these remakes of beat 'em ups. And beat 'em ups is definitely something that that's my favorite genre. If I had to pick one, I think that's my favorite. Because there's something about going head to head with somebody and just getting trashed, which is something I do really well. I get trashed. I don't necessarily dispense with the whoopings. I get whooped. But the beat 'em ups, the side by side, the cooperative adventures that you get to have side by side, just plowing through wave after wave of enemy through different levels is something I've really, really enjoyed. It's over the years, when I think about it, there's some of my most favorite games. Like I said, I really, really enjoy it almost as much as I enjoy a $5 super chat from Trikovich. What's going on, brother? Thank you so much for your $5 super chat. If you do the trilogy, they'd better do it right. It would be an insult not to. I agree. That's why I think that they don't have to shoot for or aim for pro. I think that they have to start with pro. Thanks again for your super chat, man. I really appreciate it. So beat 'em ups are just something that it's probably my favorite. If I had to pick a genre, and I've got really, really, really beloved games in most of the genres, but I think maybe beat 'em ups might be my favorite. Overall, I think anybody can just kind of walk up and just participate, and if you got different skill levels, you can always kind of run over and save somebody. You can help them out. You can keep going, and they can figure out as they go along, and you get to do cooperative moves and stuff. It's really, really just a ton of fun. And we've had some great offerings recently. I mean, this has just been some great harkening back to a different time. And I think that if you can't make huge strides and make some giant quantum leap forward in 3D gaming, if in a first-person shooter, and there's a ton of those out there, why not go back to a beloved franchise, or even like Final Vendetta or Mayhem Brawler, start something kind of new in that same love and spirit and refine it. And I think that's what we're missing. We didn't really get to see some of the refinement of some of these old genres or some of these different genres. And we've definitely, just this past year alone, last couple of years, we've had some killers. I mean, just awesome. I have Streets of Rage 4 was just such a pleasant surprise. Maybe you can give credit to that game as being the one that kind of kicked all this off. But it's phenomenal. Shredder's Revenge has been great. Like I said, Mayhem Brawlers and Final Vendetta are two great offerings. I think Final Vendetta might actually be my third favorite. No disrespect to Mayhem Brawler, but Final Vendetta is just really cool. It's just you're going back, and they're able to find something in those games, whether it's just the graphics, whether it's just the interactions, the moves, something about it, music, something about it, and just kind of capture it and then repackage it and bring it forward with new technology. And of course, everything runs super smooth, and the graphics just a little bit better, and it's awesome. And I really, really enjoy it. Just like I enjoy a $5 super chat from Mad Astro Gaming. Thank you so much for your $4.99 super chat. As they move into newer games, do you think they start moving away from the Android hardware? They have leaned on existing emulation, understanding that they aren't necessarily able to develop whatever, just any game that they want. They acquire the licensing. They work with the partners. They work with like Code Mystics, and they get it done. I think that they have to maintain a higher standard. whether they stick with the Android hardware for some games is probably a better question for somebody that's a little more technically versed in what are the limits of the Android hardware, or maybe their specific chipset is probably something that needs to be addressed more, because I've seen Android hardware just do a ton graphically. I think that there's a lot that you can do there, but at some point you have to commission a company, you have to develop an emulator, you have to do something that's your own. And I think that the implications of that are not just what games they can bring to the market. Obviously, there's some money to be made there, but they can license their emulator to others that want to use it in some of the games that maybe they don't plan on acquiring those licenses. Maybe they don't care. They're not going to make that cabinet, but they can license out their emulator for some of those games. But something has to change. Matt Astor, I think you're right. Something has to change. You can't just rock the same chips and just hope for the best. If you're going to do that, that's fine, but then you need to stay mid 90s and older. And there's something to be said about that too, because a lot of people are digging the older 80s games that you haven't made yet. And I think they should make some. They should definitely swing for the fences and go back to the well, dig up some of the old games and, make compilation cabinets like they used to, take some chances with some of those games, get some weird oddball games and put them in there. And then, see what takes off. You might be surprised, what game would take off. And then maybe you're going to we would demand a reskin of a cabinet of that weird game that you didn't think had a lot of legs. All of a sudden, people are digging it. But to your point, whether it's the hardware or developing their own emulator, something has to give. They've got to make a change, or we're just going to see this company stagnate. Everybody's going to lose interest, and we're all just going to move on to something else, because the rest of the world continues to move on. Everything else is moving on. PlayStation Slim, PlayStation 6, the next Xbox, all this stuff keeps pushing on. Eventually, Nintendo's got to come out with a different Switch, and we're gonna just move on and focus on that side of gaming if they don't do something different. Whether it's hardware or games, software, emulators, something's got to change. Thank you so much for your $5 super chat, man. I really do appreciate it. Got to give you something a little bit special, and here you go.
Game's over. Time to call it quits.
So we had these games, offered a lot of fun. Everybody's probably downloaded these games, bought these games, physical copies, and had a ball. Well, we got a few more coming down the pipe. Now, I told you before about Double Dragon Raiden. That game is supposed to be coming out soon. Very, very anxious, very excited to get that. Actually, you know what? Let's do this live. Let me check on that real quick. Let me see when it's going to come out. I think I posted this. Checking my orders on Amazon now. This is where I reserve my copy. July 28th. July 28th is the current. It was going to be October. Now it's July. So anxious to get my hands on that game. Double Dragon Raiden. Check that out. It's very much, going to be like what they did with Shredder's Revenge. So that's looking really good. I'm anxious to play that. And then we just got to this week. We got some announcements. We got a DLC announcement for Shredder's Revenge. And then we also got a new game, Toxic Crusaders. Now, remember back in the day, I guess we'll start with Ninja Turtles first. There was I think it was the original 4 episodes of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the cartoon. It was the 3rd or 4th episode, I think, where you had the neutrinos that came from Dimension X. You had Krang was from Dimension X, and there was some interdimensional travel going on. Later on in this show, they had this rabbit, Usaka, I think that's what he was. Anyway, they did some not time travel, but dimension hopping, and that's what they're going to kind of showcase in this new DLC for Shredder's Revenge. And it's like the perfect thing to do. It's the perfect mechanic because you can just that's your excuse to go to a different world. It's basically what they did in the cartoons. So let's go ahead and look at the trailer for the new DLC for Shredder's Revenge, and we'll talk about the next game right after this. Shades of Green. Here's the new character, Saga. We're going to see how he's going to be any different than Leonardo. I'm sure some of his moves have to be different. There's some feudal Japan in the background. So that looks good. Go check that out. Excited to see that. Something to think about. I talked about the neutrinos. I don't think that this is DLC that's just going to have one new playable character. We're probably going to get maybe another trailer announcing a new playable character. You know, maybe, I don't know, but I can see some other interdimensional foes coming into the mix and being playable. Is it possible that we're going to see characters from the 2000s? Back in 2003, when they redid the cartoon again, that was a pretty popular cartoon. At the end of that show, I think it was like season 7 or something. At the end of that, they had like this big interdimensional thing where it was like more like a multiverse where all the turtles from the different animated series came together and fought. Could we even see like some different turtles from different animated shows come in? It's all Nickelodeon. It's all possible. So that would be interesting. I'm anxious to see what else they do, because I doubt it's just going to be. The colors are cool. I mean, changing the shade of green that your turtle is, that's something we saw in the cartoons and something we saw in some of the other animated iterations of the characters. So that's cool. One additional playable character. I think we're going to have more. Look for I bet you the neutrinos will come out. I think that's something. I think we're going to see something else. I think we'll see more than just that one character. But it's cool. I'm glad this is a game that I enjoy playing, and anything new you can bring to it, I'm all about it. But let's talk about this other. So this was an era. The game is Toxic Crusaders, based on Toxic Avengers, or the Toxic Avenger movie that had a couple of sequels. Back in the day, back in the 80s, these movie companies, they would take a rated R movie and they would make toys based on the rated R movie, which is kind of weird. As a kid, I remember having Rambo toys. I had RoboCop, but I couldn't watch the movie. That's kind of weird. Toxic Crusaders is the same thing, or the Toxic Avenger was the same thing. There were a line of toys out, but this is all based on a rated R movie. Now this wasn't a serious movie. This was kind of like Porky's, those kind of movies, Revenge of the Nerds, that kind of movie. But it was rated R. So let's go ahead and take a look at this announcement trailer, and then we'll talk about it.
Toxic Crusader, Toxic Crusader. I had no friends, no girls would hug me until I got radioactive ugly. Toxic Crusader, Toxic Crusader. I live in the dark 'cause the rent's real low. Got a little bit love and he loves me so. Toxic Crusader.
Everybody sing Toxic Crusader.
I'll be the boss we fight against rogue. Even though we're hideously deformed. Hey, I'm sitting on top of the world. With my mighty two-head girl. Toxic Crusader. Toxic Crusader. Toxic Crusader. Toxic Crusader.
So there you go. That's it's not the catchiest song in the world, but they let you know the name of the game is Toxic Crusaders. It looks pretty good. I don't know that it looks quite as smooth and slick as Turtles does, but I think that I like the fact that the characters are bigger than the Turtles. That was my one complaint about the Ninja Turtles game. The characters are kind of too small. I wanted to be a little bit bigger, maybe zoom in on the action a little bit more. But I'm down for this. I'm digging this stuff. You come in here and I'll take the DLC. I don't need to have a physical copy of this game maybe, but I love bringing these old franchises back. I love the beat 'em up. The beat 'em up formula is, like I said, it's a genre that I really like a lot. Could be my favorite. It's it's very cheesy. Absolutely. It's very cheesy. Indeed. Somebody else said that it was gory. What was Jason? Yeah. The original movie was gory. It was really gory. I mean, it was pretty graphic. That was actually kind of a lot of gross out humor in that too. I mean, Toxic Waste. I mean, the kid is like a dorky kid. He's a janitor and he gets pushed into a tub of toxic waste. And that was like a plot device back in the day. what happened? Toxic waste, it was like a nuclear explosion, like to explain somebody getting superpowers or whatever. So it was tongue in cheek. It was funny, but this game looks pretty good. I mean, I want to check this out. I like the genre. The play mechanic could be lame and repetitive. Some of the gameplay kind of suggests that a little bit. We can go back and we don't have to listen to the song again. But if you look at some of the gameplay, not a ton of variety. I mean, they all have their own they all have their own weapons, but I don't know. I don't see a ton of stuff that's different. But I think it'd be a fun game to check out for sure. I'm not going to necessarily have to get a physical copy of it, but it is not bad. Is what it is. I'm excited about it. What do you think about it? Let me know what you think about it in the chat, in the comments section. I'm excited to see this kind of stuff come back because I think this is a genre you can take a lot of liberties with some of the characters, but you can really this 2D animation, you can really make things look incredible. I mean, Turtles, the characters are a little small, right? But overall, the game looks beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And you can mimic that original art style of whatever you're trying to emulate, whether it's a movie or a cartoon or whatever, you can really go back and really emulate that style. And it looks really good. So I'm excited about those games. Double Dragon Raiden coming out next month. I can't wait to get a hold of that and play that. I'm absolutely going to download the DLC, and I'm going to give Toxic Crusaders a shot because that's what you should do. You should support weird, odd games, especially in that retro style. Oh. Would you look at that?
What the hell?
Yo, the sign is real simple, B. It says wrap it up.
It is unfortunately that time. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Let's check out that poll question before we go. I think it's going to be important to check this out. This was a simple question, but and I think that there's a lot of opinions on this, and I think they're justified, right? Especially given what we've just gone through with Arcade1up and with Fast and Furious. I mean, I think if we, looking into the future, let's say a year or two from now, looking back, we may be pointing to Fast and Furious as the point where everything turned around or everything spiraled out of control. I don't know. It could be. Maybe I'm just being dramatic. But going back to the poll, we got 228 votes. I'm going to let you know real quick, give you a chance to jump in there and vote. Very good, by the way. We got over 200 votes. I appreciate that. Do you think Arcade1up can make a product that's worth $1,000? Not will they, not do they have the ability. Well, I guess it is the ability. Can they? Can they do it with the company existing how they are, with, I guess, the bureaucracy, red tape that it appears they have to go through, or some of the decisions that are being made? Can they even make a product that's worth $1,000? And going in the poll right now, and with a whopping 68%, you say no. You say no. I don't think I'm mad at that percentage. I think that's probably where I thought it might be. 70%, almost 70% is a pretty substantial amount of people that are just not that confident that Arcade1up can even make something that's worth $1,000. Every review I've ever done for their cabinets, I think I always wrap up my review by saying this is a great $500 cabinet, but the cabinet's like $700, right? It's rarely worth over $500. Really, these cabinets are rarely worth that. There are some notable exceptions. I think Star Wars, for the most part, was probably worth a little bit more than $500. I think Terminator 2 is still a $500 cabinet. Even though I like what they did with it, it's still one game. So there's not a lot. I still think XL cabinets are probably worth, if they put a good monitor in it. If you put me an IPS monitor in all your XL cabinets, I think they're worth $100 more. But your 3/4 offerings, at the end of the day, I just don't know that any of them are really worth a lot more than $500. So can they get to $1,000? Is it even possible? I think anything's possible. But as far as this company, the decisions that I've made them make, I think I got to side with the 68% of you that say, no, I don't think they can. Maybe if things change, maybe if there's some big shakeup in management or something, then they could maybe change stuff. Maybe they could give us some hope and faith that they could actually get there. But as things are right now, no, I'm with you. I think that $1,000 cabinet is something that, unfortunately, I think it's out of their reach because I don't even know that they know what they're reaching for. But you know what I'm reaching for? This $5 super chat from Kings of Cobra, sneaking in at the very end. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, man. I really do appreciate it. Hey, Fox, sorry I'm late. If they can pull off Donkey Kong, it will be well worth $1,000. Big if, though. Love you, bro. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for sneaking in. I do appreciate it. Anything Nintendo changes the math a little bit, doesn't it? But Nintendo, with some of the quality we've seen in some of these cabinets, I don't know. I think some of us are just we're just salivating for anything Nintendo in this form factor, that we would let a lot of things slide. But I don't know. $1,000. I'm telling you, even that once you get it home and unbox it and you put it together and you play it and you have fun, I think you're still going to say, man, is this worth $1,000? I mean, I really love Donkey Kong, but is it really worth $1,000? It'd have to be a pro form factor. I'm telling you, it'd have to be pro. And even then, it's going to be worth $1,000. But hey, to each his own. When it comes to your favorite game, you tend to let a lot of things slide, don't you? But thank you so much for your $5 super chat, man. I really appreciate it. Let me blow you up with something a little bit special, and here you go. Okay, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. You enjoy the rest of your weekend. Got a few hours left. Don't work too hard this week. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the channel. Everybody, y'all have a blessed day, blessed weekend. I will see all of you right here next time. Peace.